I may not be a die-hard Metroid fan, but after some thinking, I do know Metroid Dread is a damn good game. Releasing in 2021, it is the 5th game in the 2D Metroid series. The last 2D game, not including Samus Returns on the 3DS, was in 2002, with Metroid Fusion on the GBA. I can't imagine having to wait more than a couple years for a hugely anticipated sequel, right? Right? There's spoilers for this game and the Metroid series in general, but if you don't care for spoilers, then that's fine. To keep this video organized and not a mess, I'll split this into chapters that you can find timestamps in. Be sure to like the video and subscribe for future videos. With that out of the way, let's get into Metroid Dread. Let's dive into Planet ZDR right after an unskippable opening cutscene. It essentially is a recap of the past couple of 2D games to get newcomers and veterans up to speed. Samus is stripped of her various suit powers when you start to control Samus as soon as you boot up the game. I like that the reason why Samus lost her powers in this game makes sense. It's not some explosion like in Metroid Prime 1 or not being able to use it because you're not authorized to like in Metroid Other M, and intentionally turning off the suit in other instances. To recap it myself, since the events of Metroid Fusion, Samus is part Metroid, because in the beginning of Fusion she was infected by the X parasite, and that nearly killed her. In Metroid 2, Samus Returns, she killed all the Metroid except for one, which led to Super Metroid, where the last Metroid is a baby Metroid and took a liking to Samus. She's sent into the Federation for researching purposes, then Ridley swooped in, so he took it back, and then it died sacrificing itself up to the final boss of that game, in Super Metroid. So, up to Dread now. Metroids are extinct, Samus is part Metroid now, and come to find out X-Parasites are still alive out in the wild. Exploring an unknown planet in Planet ZDR, we have no idea what awaits in Samus's journey. We get our ass beat by Beak, and we can get the game going through a really cool power suit. There's not much storytelling in this game, as there's lore explained throughout the game. There's one cutscene that I really like because it explains so much in little time with the lore exposition you are told about from a certain character. He explains that Beak wanted absolute power to use the Metroids as a bioweapon, under any means necessary that is, resulting in the deaths of many Chozo, but sparing Quiet Robe since he can control Metroid. All seemed well until an X-Parasite disguised as a soldier infected all the other soldiers and killed many of them in the process. By some way, Beak and Quiet Robe survived that whole disaster. So, Beak continued to focus on the Metroids until he realized that Samus killed them all throughout the events of Metroid 2, or Samus Returns. Now his plans are thwarted until the events of Metroid Fusion, where Samus nearly died, as I mentioned before, until she was given Metroid DNA to survive. Because the Metroids consumed the X-Parasites, like the Metroids have a predator-prey relationship with X-Parasites. So now that Samus is part Metroid, and that's why Beak spared Samus in the opening cutscenes, and she had an impulsive reaction while fighting him. I'll explain more lore as the video goes on, but I'll go over Samus herself in Metroid Dread. The way you control Samus in Dread is perfect. The running, the jumping, the shooting, movement in general is responsive. There are a couple of new mechanics in Samus's arsenal as well as returning ones. The slide, which is new in this game, can be used to get under small gaps like the morph ball, but you can use it to dodge enemy attacks as well, which I find useful for boss fights in open arenas. The E.M.M.I abilities from Samus return, pun intended. There is a scan for finding blocks that can be broken through the many abilities you find throughout the game. The Phantom Cloak is an ability where Samus can make herself invisible, however your movement is limited and any shooting depletes your gauge, and after your gauge is depleted, it then takes your energy. It doesn't kill you, but it'll just leave you at 1 HP. The Flash Shift is a quick dash Samus can use to bypass certain doors and dodge attack from bosses as well. The gauge is recovered by moving around instead of killing enemies like in Samus Returns. Samus also has her usual arsenals of weapons like the missiles, Morph Bomb, Power Bomb, Speed Booster, and the free aim from Samus Returns is present in this game as well. By holding L, you can have a 360-degree aim while standing still, so you don't have to worry too much about missing your shots. The missiles are upgrades instead of switching them from regular to super missiles, so it's a complete upgrade. So you're stuck with ice missiles once you unlock them, and you cannot go back to super or normal missiles. The counter ability from Samus Returns has been refined to be able to move while countering. This makes it less disorienting when countering. While in Samus Returns you had to come to a complete stop when you wanted to counter, but in Dread you can counter while moving, kill the enemy, and go back to what you were doing seamlessly. You have have your suit upgrades like the various suit, preventing damage from extreme heat, and the gravity suit allowing free movement underwater with protection from sub-zero temperatures as well. When it comes to how Samus feels and is controlled, this is easily the best Samus has controlled in the 2D series. While I do miss the infinite wall jumps from Super Metroid, it would break Dread if they were here. Everything feels responsive, just perfect if you will. There's not a single moment in my opinion where Samus is moving around and it feels unnatural. I also love the power suit design that Samus has in this game. The blue, red, and white are a good color combo. I wish they had a unique final suit for the game instead of the gravity suit. Now, don't get me wrong, the gravity suit looks great, but I wish the 2D games did what the Prime series did with having a unique suit or final suit. I know about the Metroid suit at the very end of the game, but that is a scripted sequence, so it's not an actual suit you use in game. The suits in Dread still look fantastic, as always. The E.M.M.I are Samus's main threat to take care of. There are 7 of them, but one is taken down in a scripted sequence, or in a tutorial. These little robots are scary as all hell. First of all, you can't directly fight them, so your best option is to run away or bypass them through the phantom cloak. If you ever get caught by one, you can still live, but it's a tiny window of time that you are given to escape their grip on Samus. By countering them with the X button, you can stun them briefly and get away from them. Even if you miss the first attempt of countering, there is still hope, as the second time you can counter them is an even more difficult timing to anticipate. The music doesn't help any further because it follows the E.M.M.I state. There's its normal patrolling state when the music isn't intense, the enemies can hear you or detect vibration in the surrounding area. The music starts picking up as the E.M.M.I is searching for where the vibration is coming from and will neutralize the threat through this music. Once you're spotted, oh shit, just run for your life. I played the game multiple times before replaying it for this video, and I still got scared from this robot. So much so that I got the amiibo along with Samus. The amiibo looks so damn good, especially the E.M.M.I having a strike pose while Samus has a ready to attack kind of pose going on. These two figures net you some freebies of an E-tank and some missiles. Back to the E.M.M.I, the white E.M.M.I is the first E.M.M.I you encounter, not counting the tutorial E.M.M.I. The only way you can take out these E.M.M.I is through hunting down the central units, which are these mini brains. That the only way you can take out these E.M.M.Is is through hunting down the central unit, which are these mini brain units that contain the power to melt through E.M.M.I armor, charging up a shot to finish them off one by one. You unlock abilities as you dismantle the E.M.M.I. The scariest one by far is probably the yellow one or the purple one. Knowing how fast the yellow one is and narrowly escaping it, the blue and purple ones are the most difficult to take out, since once spotted, they can stun you for a moment. In the case of the blue one, you can be frozen, and in the purple one, you can be shocked, and it can also see through walls, similar to how the wave beam functions. You also have the Vari suit still, when you encounter the purple E.M.M.I for the first time, so running from it is difficult, since you're underwater for a good bit of a portion. The red E.M.M.I has the power bomb, which would be scary if they had an actual segment of it, but it is taken care of in a cutscene where Samus unlocks her Metroid ability. I like that each E.M.M.I offers something different to the table when making every encounter different than the previous one, so every new E.M.M.I you encounter isn't the exact same. Each section is also designated around the respective E.M.M.I patrolling the area, so that you may have trouble navigating the area at first. Being seen by an E.M.M.I will also disable all exits, so you can't just leave whenever you like. You must escape their range to leave the room if seen by an E.M.M.I, making the idea of literally running for your life real. I think the E.M.M.I are a great addition to the game. It adds something for the player to have concern on, the fear of being seen by one, let alone having a game over from one. Being in the heat of the moment has its benefits for striking fear onto the player, so I'll give credit where credit is due, and Dread does a good job on the E.M.M.I. The world of ZDR is large, starting from the very depths of Artaria, the game's starting place, the magma caves of Cataris, the abandoned laboratory of Dyron containing abandoned experiments, the underwater crash site of Barenia containing aquatic life, the overgrowing forest of Gabarin featuring odd plant life and such, so on. ZDR does a good job of keeping the player immersed and lost throughout the game. It's no surprise that a few areas in the game are kind of scary. One of my favorite examples of this is when Arteria is frozen over. You don't see it coming, it just happens. It reminds me a lot of Infected Crossroads from Hollow Knight. In the instance of Hollow Knight, the starting area is the Forgotten Crossroads. That seemed normal because you've been through it so many times, but is now infected. Once being a run-of-the-mill area is now unsettling, which in the case of Metroid Dread, it does a solid job of making the new Artaria that is frozen a bit unsettling. Since there is no music, it's just oddly quiet. To add the cherry on top, in the case of Hollow Knight, that specific area terrifies me, to be honest. What I will say about Dread is the music is its weakness. While each area is different in the music, it captures where you are just fine. In my opinion, the music doesn't have the effectiveness that Fusion or Metroid Prime 1 had in its music or in the horror aspect in general. Fusion captures the horror aspect well with the SAX. Metroid Prime 1 captures the horror in the late game through sequences where you are fighting barrages of space pirates and exploring the phase-on mines in general. Seriously, that area scares the hell out of me. In the case of Dread, the horror you can get is from running from the enemies, which is scary, don't get me wrong, but I feel that there was too little horror in this game, but that's just my opinion. But I honestly would have liked to have more encounters with Ravenbeak, and not one where you directly fight him, but running from him would make him a more interesting villain in my opinion, as you would have more encounters with him, making him more threatening than he is in the final game. The E.M.M.I themselves are a good threat, but adding sequences where Ravenbeak attacks you would have been interesting to me. The reason I say attack in quotation marks is so that the Metroid DNA of Samus going off could be shown off in glimpses as you progress, making Samus's DNA abilities emerge more naturally as opposed to suddenly getting it in the late game right before fighting Ravenbeak. In the cutscene before the final boss, Ravenbeak admits that he spared Samus because she showed her Metroid powers in a brief moment, so these segments of Ravenbeak attacking you quote unquote would be explained as him intentionally trying to get Samus to have her Metroid power show up. I say this not to say that the enemies aren't scary or that Ravenbeak isn't threatening. I merely wish to have more encounters with Ravenbeak, whether it's to run to escape sequences or Ravenbeak attempting to hunt you, but you must bypass him in stealth sections. I wanted more horror moments in this game, and I suppose the E.M.M.I hold up well in scaring the crap out of me regardless. Going back to what I went on, Planet ZDR is a good world in Dread for players to explore and get lost in, making good use of the speed booster abilities and grapple beam. If you've played the game multiple times, you already know that this game indirectly spells out the way forward for you. An example of this is the game forcing you to immediately fight Kraid once you unlock the Varia suit. There are many more instances of this indirect linear progression that Dread has. I'd like to think that the reason why it's linear is because Ravenbeak is setting you up to grab all these abilities and indirectly controlling you like a puppet without Samus realizing. The reason why I say this is because while it is not clear if Ravenbeak was Adam the entire time, there are instances where it would make sense that he is Adam the entire time, but I digress. There are sequence breaks, of course, so Dread is not a completely linear game, and you can get the gravity suit or power bomb earlier than expected, and getting the power bomb early allows for Samus to use it in the Kraid boss fight, that normally you fight as soon as you get the Varia suit. It's linear for newcomers of the series and casual players, while also appealing to those who have played Metroid and discover new paths and secrets to find in the world of Planet ZDR. The action in this game is jam-packed, from the bosses themselves to enemies being everywhere throughout ZDR. Some bosses are repeated, sure, but it's not completely the exact same. In the case of the trolls or robots, you go from a small room to a large open space and fighting two at once. How about the Balkan soldiers that are more aggressive once they deteriorate and go feral? The main bosses through Dread are for the most part good. Scorpius is the first major boss in this game and has many attacks, including this cool cinematic of Samus grabbing onto its tail and going guns blazing on the monster. I'm glad to see the counter come back in this game. While being able to move with countering keeps the pace going while running around ZDR. In this instance of boss fights, landing one of these counters prompts the player to unleash missiles quickly, and I love mashing the Y button, so this is even better. The next major boss is Kraid. Kraid is a boss you can't go wrong with. Kraid is a beloved boss in the series. Returns for one more showdown against Samus, and the disrespect she gives to him is badass. This game captures Samus's personality well. She lands in a room ready to fight and sees Kraid and relaxes as if it's a normal Tuesday afternoon. Well, exploding planets is a weekly tradition for Samus, to be fair. Kraid himself is fun to fight. You can immediately start spamming missiles on him, and doing enough damage to him progresses the fight, and Samus waits a little bit to reach a spider magnet area where you can damage Kraid until you take him out. And Samus just continues to be disrespectful with her literally moving to dodge an attack from Kraid. Experiment Z57 is what the game calls this thing. Another great boss. You must kill it in order to restore Altaria to its normal status instead of the frozen version of it. This boss attacks you through lasers, claw attacks that take up half the screen, the counter cinematic. It's beautiful. So Samus runs on the arm of this boss and gets on top of its head. Then the boss runs along a pillar of swords while Samus is pretty much drilling ice missiles onto the thing, damaging it in the process. I just found out you can kill it early in the second phase through the speed booster ability, which instantly is what I love that the devs let that be an option to reward veterans of the series. Taking it out restores Altaria to its normal form and gives way for Samus to unlock the screw attack, giving us the path to reach Beak, this game's final boss. Beak has easily got to be one of the best final bosses in the 2D Metroid series. As much as I love Mother Brain for Super Metroid, Beak unleashes attacks at every moment you fight him. You counter with a different ability every time he attempts to attack you. When he charges at you, he launches some black hole, you respond with the missiles or storm missile. This sun attack you can shut down with a power bomb. Every ability you got in this game can be used in this fight for the most part. His counter cinematic of Beak shooting his laser at Samus while she dodges everything he throws at her is really damn good. Eventually you take him out and he makes you rage so much that you turn him into a literal Metroid and kill him through a scripted sequence of shooting him with this laser beam. The game ends with an escape sequence, and I have to say, for a short game such as Dread, the replay value is high, with the game rewarding you with concept art for beating the game in a short time, 100%ing the game in general. I believe you also unlock hard mode when you beat the game for the first time, which isn't a significant jump from normal mode, to be honest. Despite most of the lore being explained in one singular cutscene, this was a nice way to cap off the Metroid era of the Metroid series. All I ask is what's next for the series, now that Samus is pretty much a human Metroid. When I beat the game for the first time, it left me wanting more Metroid, more Samus. The idea of Samus now being Metroid does give way for some interesting ideas for the next 2D game, or even the Prime series, which I am so excited for Prime 4, by the way. It looks so good. Still, I look forward to what's next for Samus's mission to maintain galactic peace. I mentioned earlier that unlocking hard mode is one of the rewards you receive upon beating Dread for the first time, if I remember correctly. It's there if you want to play, which I ended up doing a while back, and it's still a good old fun Metroid game, regardless of how many times I got a game over. However, in a free update, Dread mode and Rookie mode were released. Rookie mode is easy mode, so it's self-explanatory, while Dread mode is pretty much you get hit once, you die. It seems cool on paper, only for you to realize it doesn't offer much aside from maybe concept art. Again, correct me if I'm wrong on that front. The boss rush is a nice addition, which I didn't get why it wasn't a feature in Dread from day one. It's really good being able to fight the bosses in one sitting while not having to replay the game again and again. My personal best is about 9 minutes in boss rush, so it's fine, I guess. There's also survival rush, so you're fighting the same bosses over and over again until you run out of time while trying to defeat many bosses. Dread rush is self-explanatory, so you must know damage the bosses to advance to the next one. The additions of boss rush and the other difficulties are nice, even if I think they should have been a day one option. I'm glad to have them now, even if the free update BS that Nintendo does feels more like a way to add content to a game that's lacking. Not to say that Dread isn't lacking at content, but Nintendo does these free updates for games that should have had these updates from day one. But that's a different topic entirely. Overall, Metroid Dread is a nearly flawless game. One could say it's perfect, and I'd understand you. This is what a 2D Metroid game should be going forward with the series. And heading into Dread, my expectations were that it was going to be just a good Metroid game. Nothing too crazy, as the Metroid series is mostly, with an exception or two, good. However, the game exceeded my expectations, and it definitely is a favorite Switch game, or Nintendo game in general. But Dread can't top my love for Three Houses, unfortunately. Still, I look forward to future games of the 2D series and see what Mercury Steam has planned for the future. Anyways, that is all I have to say about Metroid Dread. Let me know if there was something I missed or didn't mention in the comments down below. Be sure to like the video, subscribe if you're interested in future videos, and thank you for watching. As always, enjoy yourselves and have a good one.